being a graffiti writer in New York at 18, you already have an outline. The outline is in your fucking head. All you got to do is execute the outline, put the light colours in, and work backwards to the outline. That is what ruffage is.
Ruffage. Well,
coming from the end of time and moving towards the future.
ruffage.
Trust me. I ask myself the same question. Why do I push myself so much? Or why does he push you? You know, like myself, in third party. It's really weird, that idea of hiking for the last 15 years up here. You know, you get a real sense of being third party because you realise when you're looking at this and you're seeing all of it. Ultimately, I think up here you realise how fucking irrelevant you are. You know, everyone knows that ruffage is immersive and it has this, you know, there's touches on classical and these strings and its sonics that just touch the edges, but it's b-boy breakbeat driven. The new generation, some of them can hear the magic in the music and they're sick of the fucking math. I've had to vicariously through the hand of another person, time and time again with ruffage, explain. What is that again? How's it go again? Yeah. You okay? Good to see you, Tank. Good to see you, man. Your family okay? This is Tank, big man. The Tank. No, yeah. Oh, a Tank. Yeah, man. No villa. No villa. Don't need villa. Don't need expensive villa. So Tank's a bit of a legend. He's a real legend in these parts, mate. He's the best. He's like farmer, Dorian farmer, all these hills. He looks after all this stuff, all of this. Found my motorbike keys in the middle of the jungle. So I lost my motorbike keys, came out of my rucksack. No problem, boss, I find. This guy goes out here with a shotgun hunting hog. Yeah, good man. See you later, big boss! That's what we call the ghost. Hi. See, when you're up in the real jungle, it's a bit different, isn't it? I'm better now, as I've always been. Civilization, humanoids, clown step. Oh, I'll go back, fuck it.
It started off as a thing, you know. I think it was that the idea of roughage was the stuff that was left on the surface that no one wanted. They came in stores in Crouch End, in the kitchen, probably off our ticks at some point. Tripping on acid, go, what's your call, Rufige Kru? How'd you spell it? I think he spent like a night pondering out it was going to be spelled. You should be like porridge, and that's Rufige, that's R-O-U-G-H. For Rufige, R-U-F. There was 2 F's at one point as well. If there's a duck lady, James was got 2 F's here. I just didn't like how it was. I felt like I was stuttering. What's Rufige? Got no idea. So I kind of separated the milk from the fat.
Gus brought me down to where he was working, and this guy was, you know, he was covered in paint, grafting. He had, you know, paint all over his hands. He had these glasses, like National Health kind of glasses with sellotape or some kind of like plaster on the sides, holding the glasses together. One of the first things he did say was, you know, how he loved the label, was a fan of the music and everything we were doing there, but what we lacked was a kind of a visual identity. So we said, yeah, okay, that's cool. Let's see what you can do to help that.
I started with Linford Jones, had a mad record collection. Marc Rutherford, Johnny Gosling, William Aubrey Studio, had, at that time, Marc Mac, for example, was using a 950, a 900, 950, 2 950s. The biggest studios where Harry Bernstein was working in, which I used to frequent, were using 1000s, S1000s, S1200s, you know what I mean? It's like it was a thing, bigger capacity, more brain, more storage. And of course, because I'd seen this stuff, I got in the deep end. I'd seen what Reinforced are doing with 950s, but I'd never did my first EP at Reinforced. I felt like I had to do it outside, and it was always the idea of doing a project in 3 days. Remember, I was hustling then. I had never been into a studio apart from being in with Harry Bernstein and listening to Soul to Soul stuff that he was engineering at the time. John Knowles was managing Diane Charlemagne along with Harry Bernstein at the time, which is why I got into Diane. Because I obviously covered all days in Birmingham and Powerhouse and knew of 52nd Street. Everyone knew it. Tell me how it feels. So I'd always been a soul boy, and I felt really that time, I always wanted to be able to, I wanted to be able to do this. I was going to rage, I was going out. I was hearing Nookie and NHS before I was really in the studio. You got Quantum now.
NHS!
I'd just finished this first EP with a guy called B, who's no longer with us, God rest his soul, in Iceland. And he had these great 4 ideas. They were all good ideas, but they weren't cemented. The arrangement was fucking terrible. And not many people know that, the Ajax project. Printed with the potato with me and Kemi at night and Shane, staying up to Toby. And I remember being in Iceland with B, and I love the ideas of these things. It was Phil Collins and the Angel Rain. And it was Rolling Like Scotty was the one that really pushed that roughage idea in the beginning.
First time I met him was at another show, I think. I think he was did a show with Vigo and Marc, like a Reinforced show. And I brought him a demo tape. He did a live show with them, and I had a DAT tape, and I forget what the music was that was on there. It might have been like the first Photek release or something. I caught him as they were leaving the stage, and he was carrying like an Akai S950 sampler in his hand, and I was like, oh, I've got a demo tape for you, you know, and I didn't know whether he was gonna like knock it out of my hand or like what to expect. And he took it, and about a week later, I got a call, and he came by, visited me at the studio. And that was basically a flat, like a basement flat with about 2 pieces of equipment and a DAT machine in it. And that's how we got to know each other.
And we did a full hero PA at Astoria that night, and Goldie was in the crowd. There's this guy that was like over enthusiastic, crazy. I mean, that's not unusual for those times because everybody was over enthusiastic in those times, 92, around them kind of times. But this guy was a little bit more. He jumped on the stage during the PA. We hadn't finished the PA yet, and he already was on the stage. So it was like, yo, who's this guy?
From the very get-go, working outside with Marc and Digo to do my first EP, working with engineers that were not, I repeat, were not drum and bass or jungle engineers whatsoever. So that means that my canvas is not only clean, it is not determined by others. Which means the initial ideas are based on a record collection and me knowing as a graffiti writer all the colours laid out and where it's going to go and where it's going to slot in. And I think that's kind of like graffiti writers knowing exactly how many cans that wall's going to take. There aren't many graffiti writers that kind of do this or have continued. They might have started in hip hop, did a bit of graffiti, did a bit of tagging, they kind of fell into music or they went into a bit of hip hop or whatever else. But there's not many people that have got into D&B, jungle, if you like, at the beginning of it all, at this level, that still paint at this level. So that premise or that belief system was the very beginning of what ruffage is and what the explosive cod is. The first 12 was Crisp Biscuit Killer Muffin, the first entrance into Reinforced. Followed up by Menace Dark Rider. There's two opposites, because Menace is all the way down this musical soul vibe, and Dark Rider Big Dark. That's always been the case with ruffage. It's always been the light in the dark. It's always been that from day one.
When jungle was starting, jungle drum and bass, it was like, it was going through this metamorphosis of kind of starting out really sort of like, ooh, that don't work. But it's kind of like it sort of refined itself, and Menace was a good example of kind of being able to piece so many varying different things from completely different worlds together and to make something that it stands up on its own and just has this kind of, I don't know, it has character, you know, which is in some respects, it's like a dying art form. Do you know what I mean? Music with character.
The first EP was really Dark Rider, because obviously it was Rider and it was fucking Star Wars was still fresh. You cannot hide forever. You know, the idea of the overlord of this cheesy music going out, I'm like, you will not have any of that anymore. It's kind of that vibe. Great EP. And of course I took it to Reinforced and then we were like, what the fuck?
Little did we know back then that that would become one of the all-time classics from the rave era, you know. And we're talking about Dark Rider and stuff. This is still pre-Terminator. Terminator came after that. Now, so this is, we can see Crisp Biscuit, Dark Rider, Terminator, levels going up. Although, you know, I love all of them. Then the early stuff, sometimes I like some of the early stuff more than I like the newer stuff. But levels, you can hear clearly on the record.
We started doing a few PAs here and there, and Terminator EP happened, which was a full-on explosion.
Our group at the time, which was all the Heads people, all the Metalheadz people, ruffage could be defined by just the sound of Terminator. Like that release from Goldie, I think, defined it. It's a ruggedness. It's got an atmosphere that's almost undefinable. There can even be like little sounds, individual noises that are ruffage, if you put them together. I think it's the aesthetic for the music that we were making at that time, and it could be different vibes of music, but it would have an ingredient of ruffage in it.
The Ghost CP was really my like kind of my thank you to Reinforced, because I said to Marc, I went up for the deal, 10 grand on the table to do an EP. Synthetic Records. I got Marc's blessing. I was like, yeah, man, what else could we do? Sending records out the back of cars.
You know, I always used to say that he was almost thinking 3 bars ahead of the bar he already just made. It was like a good chess player. You kind of always thinking ahead. And this is how I was hearing the music. Like, this was some guy that was thinking ahead and knew the moves on the board.
It was a great time, that whole period, because A, it was ruffage segueing into Reinforced. B, what the sound was. It was this kind of like yin and yang, this dark, and which became the strings became the light. The angst, that kind of like, the string just turns. You know, you can hear it if you really listen. You can hear it on like Sunray, a kind of remix of Rufige Magic. You can hear it there. You can hear it definitely on the Hornet 127. You can hear that ruffage, that light and dark in that. You can hear it in the Isabel remix. You can hear it in, Darth Rider, evidently all these things. You can hear it. Sometimes Sabday is a classic example. Malice in Wonderland. Beat Trip that, of course.
Terminator has that. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's those tunes. Like when you hear it, you instantly know. Okay, it has whether it's weird. It's like not sure how tangible it is in some ways, but it just has something that's like, oh, that's And when you hear it coming in the rave, you kind of like that anticipation.
When I ran to the cage upstairs, when Gru first played Terminator, I ran up and I put my hands on the cage and the door's there to get through with their DJ, and I wasn't allowed in that point. I'd give him in Terminator. Didn't play it the first time. Didn't play it the second week. Didn't play it the third week on a league. But I heard it coming in and I just ran to the cage and I put my fucking hands through the wire and I just saw it going around. So game this in fucking outside 3 weeks ago and I thought, fuck. So I sensed that feeling. You can't beat that feeling. It's on the last album I'd ever can. It's that fucking perfect line and you think, yeah, come out peace. I mean, the idea of working with a different engineer, I think the first, obviously, Marc Rutherford. First, he was Linford, who actually caught the train on. He's always going to regret it, are you, Linford? You got the train on, we got the last train before me Terminator. Stayed up all night, did Terminator, he was gutted. And me and Marc Rutherford just stayed up, right? Well, yes, what's the HMR? What do you do? Well, it plays chords at different pitches without going out top. While I have that thing, let's put some breakbeat through it. Fast forward into a 2 EP deal. It was the first EP deal leading to another one with an option, which was obviously, how can I be as opposite as I possibly can? After all those tracks I've done, Terminator became the thing, which was really, that 4-track EP was, this is going to separate me from myself completely. That EP was Ultimate Ruffage. The 4 different tunes, but Knowledge was like the northern version of Terminator, because he was like Shelley's and fucking 909s to the floor. And of course, Terminator did what he said he was going to do. He was going to go back to try to solve the problems going forward. But you couldn't get more opposite from 4-track EP, Terminator, Angel EP, You and Me. Ruffage then had other partners, Mark Seyfried, Jim Heist, fucking hell, Wolfie, I'll Take Each, in Bristol, Cine Temporal album. It really set on nostalgia while reminding the engineer what nostalgia is.
He said to me, what do you think about coming and doing some engineering for me? Bearing in mind, I've just met the guy, I've known about him for years, absolute legend. I didn't really know what to say. I wasn't really ready. I think I told him that. I think I remember saying, gee, I don't know if I'm really ready to be your engineer as such. I'm quite critical of my own. He's like, no, you're ready. He was very sure. He was like, let me steer. And it's exactly what he did, man. We would have sections of almost art that became the tune. He would draw to me how it would want to go, and a lot of people would look at that process and be like, what the hell is he actually doing there? But I could understand it. It made sense to me, and I think being at the moment and the time with certain things, that always kind of comes across better than if you just describe it to someone. I'll say this, like, he had so many different visions for so many different things in the studio, whether it came to, vocals or synthesizers or beats or bassline riffs, he would find it. And to this day, I haven't met anybody that kind of has that sort of vision that Goldie has.
The box of DATs has always been a thing. Now it's like an archive I keep. We've bounced, I think, nearly all of it out. But that sound of having this stuff on DATs and having these libraries of sound was always a thing for me.
Every day of my life. Every day of my life.
It's the box.
Every day of my life. Every day of my life. Every day of my life.
Yeah, on here, somewhere in his bag, it's all my answer phone messages from Dawny Tower, and James had to find a player to play them on. And on here, somewhere in there is a random message from Mrs. Abad. Sure, man, where are you, man? Wait for Time Star. I had to think about his album. Sure. But yeah, it's in there somewhere. There's some great stuff in there. Miami, there's all this mad stuff of me, just people leaving me messages. Could be a whole album in itself, that.
Every day of my life. Every day of my life. Every day of my life. Every day of my life.
Having that ruffage sound on DATs it was really my backdrop as well. It's like having this float. I could just get on my fucking island and all my sound is just fucking flow over me. I'm working out what sound I'm gonna use. Okay, let's use this. We're gonna need to flick this other break in here. We need to flick it in and flick it back out. Just have a little piece of it. And I think that whole process, it couldn't have worked with anyone else in any other way in this moment in time of how it's just threading its way through to kind of like, you know, boss level. You know, changing our boss level, Padawan level. Is like, that's it. There's no other gravity. There's no gravity now.
I first met Goldie, this is as far as I can recall, it was at Sun and Bass Festival, and it was an after party, and it was one year where it was called the Raveyard because they put all of the artists in one like complex basically with green in the middle, and it was an absolute nightmare because it was just parties all the time. And I remember being at a party and there was Darren there, DBridge, and Jubei, Lensman, that crew, and then Goldie turned up and he's a bit intimidating, and I guess this would have been 2012, I think. And then we spoke about like ulterior motive tunes, and he was liking what we were doing, and he was suggesting to do an album for Metalheadz. Jim Heist was then doing his engineering at the time, but they hadn't really been doing that much. And I think he'd had this album project brewing. This must have been in 2014. And he said, how about doing some engineering, see how we get on in the studio, come out to Thailand. Yeah, that was in 2016. I went out there for the first time. I remember sitting in the studio with him. It's only a small studio, and we'd never worked together before. We'd done tracks, but I think Adore You had already been done by then, and it was done sort of remotely. We did a couple of bits together and then just finished it off. So this time, sat next to him, we did Prism as the first track, and that was pretty scary, but it went well. And then that kind of just set the precedence for how it's going to go. And yeah, we've been working together since then. We did the Journeyman album, and then we did one, maybe two of the Subjective albums, because we were going to do three originally. And then it's kind of like we would refer to certain samples as ruffage. There was Goldie samples, there's Subjective samples and ruffage samples. And it's kind of like, you know, the reimagining of like old pads, or just that classic blueprint that ruffage has got. It's like anything that fell within that, we just keep it into this ruffage folder. Adam Betts from the Goldie live band, I'd recorded him a couple of times, different sessions, and playing with drums, and like I've always been fascinated with like engineering drums, EQing and all that stuff. And then you had to be there, just kind of got born out of that. And Goldie loves like the b-boy kind of breakbeat stuff, and it was very much along that, and he just got really excited with it. And then so we just wrote that, and we wrote about 4 ruffage tunes around then. Some of them, one called No Angels as well, and a couple of them which were on the album. And yeah, it just kind of kicked off that ruffage sound, and it was a bit different to the, you know, Malice in Wonderland stuff and the more recent ruffage stuff. What really put me back there as well is like starting to play in the Goldie live band, performing Terminator, and it really got me listening to like the parts again and the mentasms and just thinking, yeah, this is such a raw sound, a lot simpler, but it's not simple. It's just got a very, very unique personality. Sometimes I feel like when I'm going through the DATs, recording them, see what samples are on there. I mean, it's been something of a legend, you know, since back in the Dogs on Acid days. Of like this box of DATs and like all these samples that stuff goes missing all the time, and like you just wonder what you're gonna. And you put the DAT in and you start recording it, and a lot of the time the DAT will snap, so you've got one shot to do it. But then the samples you get off of there, me being like just kind of allowed to go through these like crazy samples, like, you know, Unofficial Ghost pads and stuff that we resampled for Siamese Ghost. It's very bizarre that it's like I'm there in the middle of it, producing these tunes with legends like, you know, the Doc Scott and the Ryder and Goldie and those names from back then, Photek. It's just crazy to think that I'm actually like in that camp doing that music, you know? It's very important to me. He brings such a lot of energy. I just don't know where he gets the energy from, honestly. It's insane. And there's a lot of laughing, a lot of positivity. That's the whole. As soon as we hit a block and it gets a bit negative, we just leave the studio. One thing that really like made me look at ruffage differently was Matt Calvert, the MD, the music director of the Goldie band, and he's Heritage Orchestra. He's like a jazz don, and he was making a point of like when we're like playing with subjective music or whatever, and going down the jazzy route, it's like everyone listens to Goldie like from the jazz world. He was like Pat Metheny's one of Goldie's real like favourite artists in the world, and he was like Pat Metheny will like Goldie because of the timeless stuff and the drum and bass that he doesn't know anything about, because he respects that crazy sound rather than doing the kind of jazz stuff. And that made me really think, and I spoke to Goldie about it, and it did make a lot of sense, and that has kind of spurred me on to do more ruffage. He really entrusts me with the sound, so a lot of the time he just gives me the freedom to like pretty much just get on with it, do as much as I can with it, and then he'll kind of steer the ship and like be the overseer, and he respects my opinion, so we'll actually have heated arguments about it. He will win ultimately, but yeah, because we both really care about the project and really care about ruffage. So tracks like Virgil and Alpha Omega, they really encapsulate the old sound, but with new production. Especially Alpha Omega, because it's got a lot of Adam Betts' drums in there, and it's quite a struggle, or it's quite a challenge to record drums and get them sounding good enough to be in an actual drum and bass track, especially like a Goldie Rufige Kru one. So that one now I'm really proud of, getting that mixture right, but also like just for the dance floor kind of side of things, I mean, I really like Secret Handshake. I think as far as the future of ruffage goes, it's got such a strong blueprint, and you know, people have come in and out like Danny J and Heist, me, Optical. So the ruffage is always going to be there, I think, and because you can dip in and out of it every 10 years or whatever, however long it is, because there's always ways of flipping those old classic samples. So I think it's more of a kind of like ethos and more of a sound in its own that whoever's going to be engineering and working with Goldie, it needs Goldie in it. Goldie's the thread, anyone who is working with him. Because a lot of people sort of think just because he doesn't engineer, it's like, what does he do kind of thing. But it's so important to have him there steering, making sure the sound fits to a certain aesthetic and it hits a certain spot. And because he hates all the techie stuff, and that was what I was kind of known for as Ulterior Motive. So he has to kind of rein me in on that stuff. The future, whether anything comes out in the next few years or not, who knows, but yeah, it'll always be tapped back into.
The Rufige album is the alpha and omega, everything in between what Rufige actually means. Every angle of what Rufige is in that fucking album. It's all in there. And I love the idea of what that is. And I think it was more of a celebration, really. This didn't feel like there's any pressure on doing it either. Certainly not from a record company point of view. And neither from my perspective of James, because me and James have already been like, clear. We've already been into so many situations in the studio of like, fuck, how, like, this is how. Because this is when you want the magic to come. The magic is something that's inherent. You know, like, remember that a 6 on a dice in backgammon, thus why backgammon blues is called backgammon blues, is not a 2-2. A 6 is not a 2 by numbers, right? By numerics, we know that. But the chances of getting a 6 are a lot fucking harder than getting a 2. Because the probability that you changes when you're playing backgammon. James, I am fucking king. Backgammon is the game of the gods because it's attack and defense. It's what you've got to do with engineers over the years. You've got to kind of be nice and you've got to be with them and communicate and be personal and upfront and together. Because if you fall out, it's not going to get done. In the Alpha Omega project, I think it was going through those DATs. We knew they were going to dissolve. We knew they were going to break.
Yeah.
You mean going through those original DATs and just going, right, what is that original Rufige sound? Early, it was like collecting Rufige was all that shit that no one wanted. And collecting sound, because not being an engineer, you just got to collect all this sound and just play people. Like I used to give out DATs, which some people haven't fucking returned, not you. But, do you know what I mean? But some DATs that you've got, and you think, where's that DAT gone?
Yeah.
Because there's so much sound that you'd make on these DATs that became this Rufige library of sound.
Yeah. Because that blueprint's so strong on the actual, the identity is already there. It's easy to draw from that.
I guess I was really not scared of losing the identity. I think that Rufige has this sound. And sometimes if you knew what it was, I can't put my finger on it, but it's expansive, you know, chord driven in some areas. Breaks have got to be like B-boy, you know what I mean? Like just on, you know, attacking, moving. The process now, I'm safely, you can do drums safely without sitting like a vulture and you sort of go. Say it again.
Oh, the Kirkadook.
The Kirkadook. No, but you know what I mean? It's like it's safe now because I can just get on with the music.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's a lot of that early musicality.
Yeah, but it's separating the engineering from the actual process, isn't it? Because I know, because Ruffage is set the blueprint basically.
Yeah.
It's like these are the parameters you've got to work in. So I can sit there on my own once we do it. I'll create 4 different types of that break. Then you come in and go, that's the one. Get rid of the other ones, and then we just develop that one.
Now you're looking at it from a different perspective, and you go and hang out with Betts and you do some drums with him, and you can sit there in them drums. It feels so much better because the processing of those drums has come a long way.
It's like you just have nerdy conversations and actually like inspiring each other into different techniques. Yeah, and that's what I think that's what it takes, the collaboration on that side as well as the other side. You just got to be a nerd, basically, I think.
It should move through your mind where you have favourites and they change. You've got your immediate secret handshake. You've got your immediate, your Virgil. You've got your immediate response. But then you've got people in places. You've got sandcastles, which is the segue into the mind of what, sandcastles is sometimes Sade. It's the same branch. It's also the precursor to the more expansive Goldie album, which I feel happy about now because I've got it off my chest. If I didn't do yoga for a start and I didn't live here, I would have done it. There's no way possible. It's not possible. It's not possible without getting commercial interference.
I'm looking back on 33 years of underground music. I fucking love this music with an absolute passion. But when drum and bass guises itself as pop music, it's got no place for it for me. So I guess in that respect, we all have our place. The bouncy D&B pop side, the kind of classicist impressionism of the classic side. But there is a deep side, and it's as fucking deep as yoga. Because the yoga is fucking humbling, to say the least. And the only person you're looking at in that mirror is the real you. All the different versions of you as well. And they're right there to see. It's so hot yoga when I came. I walked out my first 3 lessons. Fucking 10, 15 minutes in, I walked out. The next one, it was like 20 minutes, walked out. And he pulled me aside when everyone left after him. He said to me, just leave your ego at the door next time. It'll be there on the way out. Trust me, it'll be there. And if anyone knows it will be, it's me. I would not be doing what I'm doing now at this level, integral level for sure, without doing yoga. It's just like a part of my life, like I have to do it.
We can still do that, And I've been playing at 4 o'clock on Friday when I fly to London or fly to LA or fly to New York. I can play that at 4 in the morning. This sounds fucking great. And I can mix it out of something that's 30 years old or something that's 2 weeks old and it sits well. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound out of place.
It's almost like he's maybe gone back to his early days and like, okay, now what if we went on this path and sort of carried on from there? And that's what I like about it.
Before me, there's been engineers that Goldie's used and he's got that sound that only really can be portrayed as him.
You can see when he plays how excited he gets. You literally see the hairs standing up on his arms when he's listening to it. So it's like that passion is like, it's infectious.
I mean, it's Rufige. It is Rufige. I love it that it's Rufige Kru. I love it, this Rufige Kru. It makes sense to me. And for me, the track is Alpha Omega. That's my favorite track on the album. Love it. I heard Goldie play me down the phone like some of the beats while he was working on it. And even over the phone, I was like, oh shit, this is like next level programming. And if I'm going to come back, start making records again, because I hadn't put any new records out in a long time, he played me the beat over the phone. I was like, well, I hope I can make something that sounds as good as what I'm hearing over the phone. Still, I hope I can still do that. So we'll find out, right?
I've been involved in urban arts. The urban art since 17 and a half. I'm talking consciously involved in it. I love making music. And I'm not tied to a agenda of how many likes it's gonna get or how many fucking plays on Spotify. If I can get it on a piece of vinyl, I can feel it and I've got it and my kids can find it. Or they can listen to it after I'm gone. I'm happy. Because they might like it. They might go, you know, my dad who's fucking a bit complex. I kind of understand it a bit now. I've been trying to ask myself this question for so long. Why this kind of heartfelt drive of pushing these boundaries to have this music that makes you feel as opposed to music you hear and you just process, because it's like a formula and it's put into cans and shelved, you know. And it feels like that with how music's become. But it's the same as anything. Anything that's got roots that looks beautiful, people want to just chop it up and pick it up and rip it out. And all I know is that we come from this amazing tree of music and heritage. And in that jungle drum bass music, there was a place for ruffage, an alpha and an omega, a beginning and an end, and a rebirth constantly of what reinvention really means. And I guess that's what's really, really probably the most important thing. It's a rap. It's a rap. Look at this guy. And here he is, he's the star of my show. The girls decided to buy me a boy dog because they thought, yeah, let's get him a guard dog. Hey, Ronin. This is my best mate, isn't it? Little Roro. We go on many an adventure on this beach and come here and listen to lots of wonderful music. Do you want to listen to some music with us? Yeah? Who can resist this? Ah, hello. Yes, I know. How are you going to ask? Where have I what? I've been in the jungle, that's what I've been doing. I've been in the jungle frequenting there, and I thought I heard a noise of you riff-raff down here in the lowlands, making some kind of, what are you doing here?
We're making a documentary.
Documentary about what? Oh, I see, ruffage. All that old chestnut, I see. Making a lot of dark music, sitting there all moody and all serious. Why don't you make real music, like chasing potatoes or something, and do something real bouncy or something? Why don't you do that? I get some gun things out in here, huh? Why don't you do something like that? Make it all really nice and commercial. I think that you keep it safe. Safe and safe for the kids because we don't want to get anything too deep.